Welcome to the D-Spot podcast. Dr. Dana McNeil is a licensed marriage and family therapist who specializes in working with couples using the Gottman method. Her evidence-based practice provides support for the wide range of relationship issues that modern couples face. By using her open, affirming, and outside-of-the-box thinking, Dr. Dana is able to approach her work with couples by bringing both insights and tools that reflect the realities of today's complicated relationships. Dr. Dana features guests on her podcast that include a unique array of celebrities, CEOs, influencers, and everyday folks who are all working on navigating new conversations about how society views what goes into a successful relationship. And now, here's your host, Dr. Dana McNeil.
Hello, welcome to the D-Spot. I caught my friend Glenn off guard there. He didn't know I was going to start right there. So hello. Hi, everybody. I am Dr. Dana McNeil. This is the D-Spot podcast. I am thrilled to introduce to you a very new and wonderful friend of mine. His name is Glenn Sandifer. Say hi, Glenn.
Hi, Glenn. Hello, everyone.
Glenn has a delightful personality, and I know you're going to enjoy getting to know him. One of the reasons that I was excited to invite Glenn to the podcast is because we have some similar backgrounds, which maybe he does or doesn't know. But I used to work in the corporate world before I became a therapist, and people always kind of raise eyebrows at me and be like, why would corporate world go to becoming a therapist? And one of the things you're going to find out is what Glenn knows, and he's going to chat with us some more about is, you have to think about your personal life when you work in the corporate world because you still want to have one. And it makes it difficult to have a personal life if you're married to your job. Right, Glenn?
That's good. You could drop the mic right there.
We're done.
We're done. But no, that's amazingly insightful. So it is correct, because if you don't have a personal life, what are you doing all the hard work for?
Yeah, that is what, honestly, more than half of the clients that come to me, because I'm, I guess I'm more of like a higher SEO therapy boutique kind of place. And I work with lots of CEOs. That's part of my jam. And they are so good with their employees, and they're so good at delegating, and they're so good at like learning all of those soft people skills for dealing with their, people that they're married to on the job, and then they go home and they got nothing left to give their partner, or worse, they speak to them like they're their employees, and that never goes over well.
Wait, I'm not your employee is what you will hear at the middle ground. I'm not your employee. Don't talk to me like one of your little admins. Talk to me as if I'm your girlfriend, your spouse, your significant other, your partner. Insert language there.
So you've been in the corporate world for over 20 years, which I don't see how it's possible because you look like you're maybe 10. You have no wrinkles. So it didn't.
It's the filter. It's the filter, Dr. McNeil. It's a nice little filter. It's called the Youthify.
I got to get that one. Okay. So tell us about your background, and then kind of take us on the journey, how it led to you writing the book, which is called, we'll say it many times so everyone can jot this down, The Middle Ground: How to Get Great Dating Outcomes in a Modern World.
Yes, thank you very much for that great intro. But yes, I've spent the last 20 plus years working in various corporate capacities. Funny story, I think you'll be the first to hear this. My original goal out of high school was to be an owner operator for McDonald's. So I worked McDonald's. You remember the Calvin commercials? And if you guys don't know, look up Calvin and McDonald's on YouTube. And I literally started at 15. Cash register, couldn't work fries, went from cash register to present window, where I hand out the bag and the drink. Then they trust you, order taker, cash present, then grill. You couldn't do grill back then until you were 16.
Oh, you couldn't present and take cash. That was like
that's normal now. Back in the day, there had to be an order taker, and then there had to be a cash person who took the cash, because we didn't have credit cards back then. We all took cash. Right. So that was my goal. And so I spent all of high school working with DECA, working with Future Farmers of America, looking to become an owner operator to kind of learn the background of the business. Went to college, and at undergrad worked full time. Grad school worked in between internships, full and part time. And when I returned home to Indianapolis, Indiana, shout out Indianapolis, Indy, I was going to be an owner operator. So I began working back in the store at a much higher level and then moved into the advertising space where I managed the co-ops. So during that period, you learn a lot about people. So in order to be great at being a shift lead or running a store, even though it's just McDonald's, I may have 25 personalities I have to take into consideration with one goal: to delight you as a McDonald's customer, to delight your children as McDonald's customers and future long-term customers. So I had to learn all the, I guess all of the body language, the clues, the intrapersonal skills necessary to be an effective leader. And each of the stores that I managed had a different psychology or psychographic profile. It took on the character of the client base. So you have to shift and be able to move. So that was kind of the beginning and genesis of it. So as I worked, I spent time at McDonald's, decided I needed to break and learn a little bit more, get a little bit more salesmanship capacity. So I went into sales and I worked for one of the largest consumer electronics companies. And then I worked for their competitor. And then that's where I kind of learned the sales process. There is when I had my first instance of managing people, where people were under my responsibility. And with people, you have to deal with the person and you have to deal with their production. So two separate skill sets and separate needs that is really lacking in corporate workspaces today, but it's still necessary because I believe in order for people to be successful at work, they have to be successful individuals at home. So there I started developing more strategies around one-to-one coaching prior to us having that, to where it was just straight phone calls, conference calls. We didn't have Zoom, we didn't have FaceTime, we didn't really text. So you had to spend time getting to know people and traveling to their locations in their market, in their backyard, to get to know them. And so I kind of developed that in order to be successful as a leader, I had to have successful people who love to do their job, who love to show up for work every day, and who bought into what now we call culture. So I did that over a 15-year period. And then I began at the beginning of Facebook writing articles about what I was hearing. And what I was hearing was that as I became more successful professionally, people were saying, I'm struggling at home. And in my field, I was dealing with people in retail, so district managers, store managers. I was dealing with people in advertising, owner operators, business owners. So they were all saying the same thing. And so our conversations were pretty quick around the production, and then it became personal. And so I began writing articles about some of those discussions, those outcomes that were desired, and I saw that common thread. I'm more successful at work, but I'm struggling in my personal relationship, whether at that time it was marriage or trying to get to the outcome of marriage. So what I did is, if this season of my life, I wanted to put out a book series as it relates to what I see as the challenge with dating. We are modern. And in today's modern world, people are still looking for traditional outcomes, and it doesn't work. So you have to know who you are, what you want, what you qualify for, what you qualify for wants, and how to go get it. And that is the middle ground.
So what I'm hearing you say, I love all that. You have a good story and it's engaging, and I can see why people are like, tell me more. What I hear you say is what I already know about couples is that you have to have a sales technique. Basically, you're in
That's
the perfect
that's
place.
not. See, if you say sales technique, then the triggers go off, and now you're saying, okay, well, what do you mean? You're selling me? Why don't you relate to me? Why don't you talk to me?
Because we're all looking to be sold for things. Because here's what I know about couples, and tell me if you disagree. If you do, I'll just end this session and we'll be done. But if you are not letting your partner acknowledge that anything I do for you is a gift, I am not required to do it by virtue of the fact that we're in a relationship together, I'm not going to be open to it. That's the first part. The second part is I have to be able to sell it to you. Maybe that doesn't sound eloquent. Maybe that doesn't sound sexy. Maybe that doesn't sound friendly, but I have to let you know why it would serve you in order to do the thing for me that I'm looking for. right? I will feel more loved. I'll feel more appreciated. I'll feel closer to you. I'll feel more like we have a better connection. I'll feel more like you take, me as somebody that's your confidant, or I have influence on you. Here's why it would mean so much to me. So when I say sales, I kind of mean like understand the other person and why you can help figure out what their motivation is to help you get your needs met.
So yes, and I'll say that from the middle ground standpoint, that is consistent with the teachings that I like to deploy, because the first step in that is knowing who you are and what you want.
Yeah.
I think in modern dating, people never go through that process. They look and they see, I'd like that. They don't know anything about themselves. They don't know anything about why they want that.
Yeah.
And so I say that, especially to the young men that I have the privilege of talking to, they're making decisions when they were 16. 36 years old, you're making a decision when you were 16, because at 16, you made a decision during those formative years. This is what I like, and this is what I want. And at 16, will that serve you at 65? It won't. So you have to be able to take a look at the end in mind, 65. And if the audience is older, I always challenge them, tell me what you would do different at 65 if you were 20. And then the story adds up with what we believe at the middle ground. So at 65, I would like 2.5 kids. I'd like 18 grandkids out of the 2.5. I'd like to have a house on the water in Charleston. I like to have rental properties. I'd have to have income coming in through several business ventures. Who are you picking to help birth that vision? And if you're telling me, well, I'm a man, well, I don't need any help with the vision, I will tell you the high value men that I have the privilege of speaking to, that was the most important decision that they made. Who is my significant other? Who is going to be my wife? Because they will help drive you in that direction of reaching your passion and being focused intently on your purpose versus just working a job. So what I like to say at the middle ground, you have to know who you are and what you want, because if you don't know that, you'll never be able to give of yourself fully from a sacrificial and a duty standpoint to another person, yet alone a significant other, and God forbid, a spouse. Because each of those three things are three different levels of investment that you have to stair step your way into. You can't just jump into.
So playing devil's advocate, which I like what you're saying and I think is important, how does there not come across to people who might be hearing this as, let me just figure out what I want and then I just go after what I want and I make sure that this person fits it? Where does compromise come in with that? Is that a piece of this?
Yeah, compromise will be a piece of any interaction when you're talking about a relationship, specifically a modern dating relationship. So in the book, in chapters 2 and 3, we talk about the 6 type of men and the 6 type of women. I often say where we find the challenges in the relationship is you are misaligned. So, and for the audience, I'll say that for the 6 type of men, there are boys, there are F boys, ladies, your favorite. There are guys, there are males, there are men, traditional and modern, and there are high value men. A lot of the discussion for the dating space goes into high value, specifically high value men, and that's less than 10% of the market in any given area. So why are you making plans around less than 10%? That would be that you're looking at a lower return on investment. So what we say is, who am I? Because I may be a girl, maybe a city girl, I may be a gal or a chick, I may be a female, I may be a woman who's modern or traditional or a high value woman. And what we find is that for the majority of the market that we see for women, they are modern women or they're females. And modern women or females are often looking for a traditional man with a traditional output, or they're looking for a high value man. And they can't understand why these men don't want them. It's because you need to be with a modern man or you need to be with a male. So you guys can deal with the things that I talk about in the book that come along with those two groups. High value status is never going to deal with that. High value woman is never going to be with a male or a traditional man. It's not enough. Traditional men want traditional outcome. I take care of the finances and the money. I take care of protecting you. I take care of priesting you, professing, and you take care of the household and the kids. High value women ain't just that. That's nice. What are you going to do at the next level. I need someone who's going to the next level. And I am a woman who can help pour into you to help make sure you get to that next level. I'm not going to sit around and just stay at home like my grandmother did. And what that gets confused with, what I believe in this space, is that women who say that and are looking for high value, they are looked at as traditional or modern women and vice versa. And then it just muddies up the discussion. And then everyone says, I'm opting out or I'm getting a passport. Why? You need to understand who you are and what you want, because there's plenty of people out there that you can connect. All we're asking you to do is connect with one. We're not telling you to get the whole thing. And part of that, as you say, Dr. McNeil, will be the compromise. And compromise comes in saying who I am and what I want, and then what do I want and what do I qualify for? That's compromise, and that's more introspective. And that's what a lot of us lack.
I love all that, because if I choose well to begin with, and I'm making sure that the person I choose is aligned with who I am, my values, my beliefs, my core ethics, there won't be as much of a need for a compromise, or it won't feel like it's as painful of a compromise because I'm not doing something that's not in alignment with my boundaries and who I am. It's just like, oh, you want to go on Hawaii to vacation this year? Cool. Versus like big core issues about like whether we have kids or not, or how we spend our money, or what retirement looks like, is what I'm hearing you say, that those compromises don't feel so earth shattering because you did your work ahead of time.
You do your work ahead of time. And what we believe at the middle ground is that the best outcome for people would be one man, one woman in a relationship. So if you don't subscribe to that, the middle ground is not for you. Please buy the book, please click and subscribe and get the content, but that's not for you. But we're trying to help people that want that outcome get to that outcome. Not anyone else is looking for any outcome. We don't believe in the outcome for the F-boy to have a roster of 9. First of all, as a man, 9, you got to keep your lies straight. So why would I don't want to deal with that. If you are a city girl and you're going for the bag, as it said, and I'm only interested in how my money comes in, and then whoever comes is disposable, you're not for the middle ground. You are looking for something that's completely separate than what we believe, and we want you to go find that. You're not going to find it with our technique.
So let's go back, because you said something that made me snicker. We love an F-boy.
Yes.
Tell me why, junior therapist. Why?
I don't know why you do. I don't understand it.
I thought you were going to unwrap the psychology of it today, and we were going to have like
I will unwrap the psychology, and we'll do a multiple choice quiz at the end of this. But what does the city boy or the F boy have? He has swag. He has confidence. You have chemistry with him because he is intently focused on gaining the most attention from the most women at any given time. So he's invested in that goal and outcome. He's not invested in your emotional needs. He's not invested in a long-term committed relationship. But modern women and females spend a lot of their life with that guy, and then paint that guy's character on traditional men and high value men. You all are F boys. No, you just like them because he has the swag. I talk about in the book in chapter 2, when it comes to the F boy, he's physically fit. He has enough money to live his lifestyle, and that lifestyle is impressive enough to the average woman. And so since he is physically fit, he's attractive, he's charismatic, he has the swag, he has everything that you have stated from girl stage that you wanted as a girl in middle school to now as a 20-year-old woman. And so then you spend your 20s and early 30s trying to convince this man that you are the one to choose. And no F-boy is ever going to settle down. Most F-boys settle down with reformed city girls later in life. And then they have a little city life together, as I call it. And they love it. But they're not going to settle with and be with any other group. But I believe that women like it because of that one factor. It's the E word, exciting. I'm looking to be excited and delighted. I need something that is challenging and stimulating. And the F-boy provides that.
I have a theory around that too.
Plus the other component that everyone's snickering about right now. He didn't mention it, but you know what it is.
So I have a theory about that. Tell me if this aligns with what your research is unfortunately or unfortunately, if I, as a female, have insecurities or low self-esteem, and I see that you can be with all these other people, but I somehow finagle or impress or minimize my personality enough that you choose me, then I somehow feel validated because you could be with anybody, but you chose to be with me. So somehow now I can actually believe I'm special because other
One of
things
the
I'm
number.
doing in life.
One of the numbers is what I call that. So that is what you just said, the psychological belief that if other girls want him, they would also want me. But that's just not even to the F boy. That is also for the high value man. Every woman, when we put a high value man who makes, we talk about the character of a high value man and we talk about his earning, and we take out the fame component of athletics, entertainment, politics, and priesting. Those are the relationship outcome for those four comes out a little different. Everyone wants a high value man, or they would love to have a high value man, and then if they believe they qualify for it, they would want it. So with that high value man having many suitors from women, yes, I would like to have that because I will have one. So I think it's the one of many concept where if I can win and beat out my competition, my peer group, then it will further validate me. Now, whether that is a situation related to self-esteem or insecurities or even trauma, I always say if you can identify that, get help, get the professional psychology or therapeutic help that you need for that. I am a proponent of therapy. I encourage everyone, when you go through any trauma, you need to take out a year and a half, go through the therapy and get the healing and get the self-awareness and understanding of what happened and why it happened to you, or why did you allow it to happen.
Yeah.
But therapy is not F boys on Broadway. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that.
Because to your point, which we're not attacking people who are attracted to F-boy, that's just your thing. But what to your point is, if I'm attracted to somebody based on what they're going to do for my street cred or how I'm going to feel that I got the one, that means that I'm not focused on what I need and what I'm looking for. I've got off course.
Yeah,
right?
I've gone off course. Yep.
All of that means I haven't thought about how he's going to add to my life, if he's going to be a good father, if he's going to like walk through life with me, right? That just means that I'm like, I want this temporary quick fix because I need this thing so that I can feel a little bit better about myself for a day or two. But I haven't spent the energy that you're suggesting that we spend finding about who we are and what we need and why we need it.
Here's what I believe. Let's take it from the man's point of view of what I tell young men. And ladies, this is when I tell you this and it clicks in your head, you can just thank me then. I tell young men, 18 to 30, put your head down. Do not, and I repeat, do not go out chasing things in the world. As a man, you need to start learning. The first thing is a high value skill. So whether that high value skill is in trades, whether it's in law enforcement, whether it's in military, whether it is in education, learning that skill, because really Charles Barkley talks about there are really only 6 jobs. And I kind of agree with that. I'll add 7, or education. So if you want to figure out kind of and build that skill. So from 18 to 22, you may be in college. From 18 to 20, you may be in trade school. From 18 to 26, you may have your military deployment. From 18 to 20, you may be, if you're a firefighter, if you're in law enforcement, so first responder, you're going to be learning that trade. And then you need to work. And at 20, you have energy. So work hard, work overtime, take extra classes. If you're someone who is in law school, bartend on the side. Learn bartending because you'll learn that communication and that salesmanship. If you're in sales, get a sales job with something, a product that you believe in, go out, perfect it, learn from those who have been best, and then go pick up something part-time. You'll look up from 18 to 30 and I got these 10 to 12 years of experience. I've been successful. I now have a high value skill. I can tell you in the industry I'm in, I can't get people to apply to a job. And the reason is we've done such a poor job communicating it, but we pay very well. And most people don't know that. Then at 30, you can look up, you can go back to homecoming, you can go to get your season tickets, you can go to Target, just shopping, and then start looking at the market. And this now, ladies, This is someone who is a man. He hasn't decided yet at 30 if he's traditional or modern, but he has enough discipline in his profession. He'll be disciplined in his physical fitness for his 20s, discipline in his finances and his faith. So now at 30, he kind of knows who he is. And when I tell him, hey, man, now, what do you want to be at 65? What do you want the next 35, 40 years to be? Man, I'd like to get married, have a couple of kids, do this. Now you know who you are and what you want. Let's look at what you qualify for. So I'm a modern man. So then you start asking yourself questions. I kind of believe in this 50-50. I want my wife to work. I don't mind if we have kids and the kids are being watched by family or something like that. All right, you're pretty modern. All right, that's good. There are plenty of modern women who would love to date you right now. And at 30 to 35, you're going to find your best pick options and you pick one. So now, ladies, when you meet this man between 30 and 35, he knows who he is. He knows his faith. He's fit. He has his money together. He's not reckless with his D, as we say, with D discipline. So he's someone that you could look at. You're going to engage with him different than all the F boys you've been dealing with for your 20s.
Yeah.
And he's been making this investment over this 10, 12-year period. He can't afford to make a bad mistake. So his questions when you're out on coffee with him, because he's not taking you to a steakhouse because his money is his, he's going to just ask you questions. So where do you want to be in the next 25 years? She's going to, I'd like to have a couple kids. I have my career. I think as a mother, I want to. Yeah, okay, I think that's nice. Where do you want to live? Well, I like it here. You want to raise your children here? I haven't thought about that. Where's your mom? Oh, my mom's back home in Chicago. Do you want the kids to grow up around your mom, your dad, and your family? Yeah. So if you thought about going back to Chicago, yeah, but I don't really want to raise them there for all these reasons. Okay, so then maybe that's not it. What if it's adjacent? What if it's 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours away? Hey, I think I'd be fine with that. Okay, all right, cool. All right. So where do you like to vacation? I've never been here, never been there. So then by the time you look up, the thing that you get from the F boy, the excitement, the conversation, where the conversation flows the way you like it, you've had it met. He's got it together. He doesn't have time to play games. And guess what? He's only entertaining 2 or 3 because he's busy. Remember, between 30 to 35 is when men first get their first promotion, second promotion, first big assignment, placement at the hospital that they want, law firm appointment, partner. So he's ready to take on the world. And if you haven't chosen that man in high school or college, you're gonna have to wait now really until the end, because that part in the middle is hard. And that's where in the middle ground people fail. I can't deal with this. He's not available. He doesn't want to make time for me. He doesn't want to do this. Or she's like, she's not understanding. She doesn't see that I do this. I know that she works too, but I really got to focus on this. And I say just to guys, wait. You're not going to learn anything there. So just wait, get there to the end, and then ask the right questions so you can find the right significant other. And then for the women that are listening to that, typically you're making that decision whether you're going to be traditional or modern after college, before college. You come out, and then this is when we see the highest number or the most women who are enrolled in their post-secondary doctoral programs, because this is what they're waiting for, I believe.
Yeah.
Because then they come out of that program and they meet this guy and they're like, do I need to work? Why am I putting up with this boss that I don't like?
Mm-hmm.
Would I really like to have 2 kids? Because what I say, and I've done a couple of lives on this, is that modern women feel like they don't necessarily have the option of tradition.
Yeah.
So since they don't believe they have the option for tradition, they make the investment early on in things that will sustain them and provide for them. And because they do that, when they come into contact with F boys, males, guys, it's easy for them to turn that off. Nope, I'm done with you. I'm moving on. I have my career. But when they come into contact with a man and a high value man, they have to start asking themselves some questions. It's a whole negotiation. And that negotiation is hard.
I love this. You have so much insight and you say it in a very relatable way so that we can see ourselves and be like, oh yeah, that's me. Or, hey, I never thought I could have that option. And I love that it sounds like it's just very clear and concise that knowing yourself, investing in yourself, putting off immediate gratification and looking for the thing, the person, the life that is meaningful to you is worth the wait.
Yeah, it's always worth the wait.
give us one last tip. And I really encourage everybody to get your book and read your book and just kind of like figure out what's the game plan of how you're going to figure out who you are, right? That might be through therapy, that might be through journaling, that might be through some ways that help you get clear on it, but it's definitely worth the cost of admission. So give us one last thing before we let you get back to your busy life.
I will say this, I will recommend to everyone, men and women out there right now who are listening, if you're between the ages of 25 and 40 and you feel stuck from a relationship standpoint, one thing I would challenge you to do is to pull out a pen or paper, but there's also a book that's available on Amazon. It's called The 5-Year Plan. Write down what you want your life to be over the next 5 years. And when you write it down, I'm not talking about vision boards. I'm talking about read the book, write it down. It's an exercise for you to go through and tell, so you can be really introspective. This is more private. So your best friend, your parent, your boss doesn't know this, but it will help clarify for you how you're going to move over the next 4.5 years. It should only take you about 30 days to get through. And once you get through it, it'll ask you hard questions. And those hard questions are going to give you really clear answers. But I would recommend that. But I would also say that, listen, you don't have to die alone. You don't have to give up hope. You don't have to believe that it's over for me. I believe that when you know who you are, what you want, what you qualify for, and what you qualify for once and you do the work, you can reach the middle ground and you can have a happy, healthy relationship with the person that you've always dreamed.
Wow. That's lovely. Thank you for giving that today. That's a nice gift for whoever gets to hear it who might be struggling. So please, please, please check out his book, The Middle Ground, How to Get Great Dating Outcomes in a Modern World. Where else can they check you out besides your book?
So the book is available on Kindle Unlimited, Kindle download, and Amazon. It's also available on Google Read. I didn't know that was a thing. Apple Books, Barnes and Noble. But I'm also on what I call the 4 major social media platforms. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, Middle Ground Book. And then our website is themiddlegroundbook.com. There you can sign up, join the community. You'll be put into one of our Facebook groups, and then there the dialogue and conversation goes on.
Wonderful. Thank you, Glenn. You are a bright light, and I'm really glad I got the chance to introduce you to everybody and to get a better opportunity to know who you are.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you to the audience for listening.
This has been the D-Spot Podcast with Dr. Dana McNeil. To learn more about Dr. Dana's practice, simply visit us at www.danamcneil.com.